But I want to go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about today in this portion, the member portion or the more advanced portion, are some of the pillars of health. And I want you to realize these are not formal, these are not Yoli created. This is just something I came up with for this individual event. And so this is basically my own words. This is not something that Yoli Corporate has really put out. And so I want to get that clear first, just to relieve the idea of compliance, right? So I don't necessarily represent Yoli Corporate with what this seminar is going to go through. So we're going to move forward. So what are the goals? We're going to talk about some basic pillars. There's more than this, and there's even more advanced pillars, and some that may even be considered more important. But I wanted to really focus on just a few that I think people have questions about. We want to promote the idea of synergy, right? So Yoli is an amazing group of products, but what's even more amazing about what we have is the synergy of how it all fits together, right? So there's a lot of different companies out there with some amazing products and hundreds of products, and their repertoire is amazing. However, you always kind of have to wonder, well, can I take this with that? And one thing Yoli has done very, very well is we've kept everything very synergistic, meaning, look, when it comes to Yoli, you can be on everything. So that's an amazing thing, right? So when you say to somebody, hey, what about this product? Yeah, we can be on all of these. I'm going to split some things up and talk about some of the pillars and where these individual supplements fit, but I want to make something very clear. They are all very synergistic, okay? We're going to talk about which products when, and I should have said which products where. That might have been a little more accurate. When it comes to those pillars, which one of the products really fit that and why, okay? Not necessarily a timing thing. And then finally, why is Yoli so special? So that's kind of what we're going to go through this afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about which of the basic pillars we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about gut health. We're going to talk some on joint health. We're going to talk about immune support, and we're going to talk about hormones, with the hormone section being probably the deepest section, just because by nature of what it is a very deep subject. So we'll go a little deeper into the hormone side than the other three, but we're going to cover all four. So we're going to start with gut health. Gut health, when it comes to the gut and gut disease, 70+ million people have some sort of dis-ease. And by that, I write that specifically that reason because I don't want to talk about individual diseases. I just want to talk about there being dysfunction of the gut. The gut being anywhere from the mouth to the end, right? So we can break that down, whether it's the stomach, the upper intestine, the lower intestine. That is all included in the gut. And so there are many different dysfunctional reasons that we have poor gut health. And 70+ million people in this country have some sort of disease. Now realize there's only 380 some million people in this country. So a large percentage of us are at least suffering from some sort of gut health problem. It's the cause of approximately 50 million ambulatory care visits annually. It has a total economic cost of nearly 150 billion every year, and 22 million hospitalizations per year. So it can affect anyone at any time. And diet has a huge role in that. So I want to make sure we understand that. So when it comes to gut support, quote unquote, what we're going to talk about, and realize all of these pillars I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to be very clear that I want you guys to understand we must start with a transformation kit. In my opinion, starting with that transformation kit or multiple transformation kits is what builds your foundation. It helps you detox. It kind of resets those receptors. From the point that we get to where we're achieving some levels of health is when we can really start putting these additions in. Now, I'm not saying you can't add them right away. I'm just suggesting that I want to make sure that everybody understands a transformation kit is a really, really key part of this whole picture. You have to talk detox. You have to talk resetting receptors and building a foundation. So For gut support, my suggestions is a transformation kit. We can look at enzymes, we can look at flex, greens, and fun, okay? So why are we deficient? We're going to talk about enzymes first. Where does enzymes fit into the gut health picture? Why are we deficient? Various reasons. We are secreted by the mouth, stomach, pancreas, and small intestine. The soils are depleted, resulting in less natural enzymes. As we age, you guys, we produce these enzymes less and less and less. Our body just can't keep up with the demands. That's why you see people struggle as they age with different gut health problems, gut health diseases. Cooking, processing, and early harvest, along with an extended transport time or mileage to get these products out to us, like your fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. A lot of times, you guys, they're being shipped, they're being sprayed, they're being altered. And when you do that, you're basically removing and robbing the natural enzymes that God put there for us to help us break those down, right? So those are being removed or at least depleted over the course of the cooking, processing, and the transportation. And then altered by diet and exercise, right? That's the key. How do we maintain them? It's through diet and exercise that we can help the body produce the enzyme that it needs for breaking down each one of those foods efficiently. So Yoli's enzymes. Yoli's enzymes is a full spectrum digestive enzymes. It's going to help you break down those foods into particles that are much more bioavailable. They're not going to wreak havoc on your gut. They're going to help you with your digestive issues, whether it, I always joke that I have to say it at least once during every presentation, but it's going to help you poop, right? So within our Yoli enzymes, we have lactase, which helps us break down lactose. So if you struggle with dairy, that would be a great component, and it's a reason that I think a lot of our people that come to us and say they're lactose intolerant or sensitive, when we actually give them the Yoli enzymes, they can actually get past that. It wasn't that their body necessarily was having something wrong. It just needed to break that individual sugar down a little bit more. So lactase for lactose. You've got invertase, which breaks down table sugars. Protease for meats, nuts, and eggs. Bromelain. Bromelain helps with breaking down proteins and is also a great anti-inflammatory. So that's where we talk about with enzymes playing a key component with injuries and inflammatory arthritic conditions, things like that. Bromelain is a great component for those particular issues. Then we have amylase. Amylase helps break down carbohydrates. Galactosidase is for beans and legumes, and peptidase for proteins and amino acids. So it really is a full spectrum, and it helps us just break those things down so our gut isn't constantly in work mode trying to figure out how to handle these oversized proteins, these oversized particles. And in fact, that can further lead to more autoimmune type conditions where the body starts, marking these proteins, marking these different components as negative and then attacking them. And that's where a lot of our sensitivities and allergies really come from, and in turn, autoimmune disease or disorder. So helping your gut break those foods down is a key component to autoimmune disease. Okay, the greens. Our greens, awesome greens, full spectrum, same thing, bunches of dark leafy greens in there. They provide prebiotic fiber, which is awesome. Spirulina, which may help protect good bacteria as we age. Remember, these are all science-based, study-backed. We can reference these, but spirulina has been shown to help protect good bacteria as we age. So as you age, you lose that microbiome. Some of those good bacteria start to die off, and we change. And so that's a great component. There's anti-inflammatory effects of the antioxidants involved with those leafy greens. A fairly new study talks about sulfoquinavos, which is a preferred food for good bacteria, and that comes from those leafy greens, the kales and things like that. And so our lean greens is a great precursor to that sulfoquinavos, which is very, very important to providing the gut the environment so that it can flourish, right? Again, if you listen to any of my earlier talk or when I've spoke before in the past, I talk a lot about creating a positive environment for the good bacteria. It's not all about just the numbers of those bacteria as much as it is, let's create a home that's very inviting to the good stuff and very negative for the bad stuff. And that's one of those things. Chlorella helps remove toxins from the gut, so it's going to help deflame us. And then, quite frankly, most people just don't get near their 5 servings a day. I mean, if you really look at what it is to get 5 servings, it's actually a lot on that plate. And so within the Yoli system, that's why when you hear the doctors talk a lot, we give you some freedom, some free reign to add those leafy greens in wherever you can, because we need to get closer to those. We need those whole foods. We need those 5 servings. But greens is a great way to advance those 5 servings along. Okay, the flex. This is one that a lot of people don't associate with gut health, but the way it was created, the way it was formulated, it's got some really, really good things in there to kind of help further our gut health. First of all is Devil's Claw, which is an anti-inflammatory. It's been shown anti-inflammatory in the gut. There's ginger, which stimulates our hydrochloric acid production to help break down those foods. Inhibits H. pylori, which is a very negative gut bacteria, happens to attack the stomach. Activates bacterial genes for gut repair. Very, very cool, because anything we can do to get the body to act in its own innate fashion to help itself and heal itself, that's what we need to be doing. We talk a lot about that as chiropractors, but anytime we can activate those bacterial genes, it's the epigenetics, right? It's turning on the switch that will help us repair our own gut. And then what I just talked about, bromelain. Bromelain being anti-inflammatory, that applies to the gut tissues as well, you guys. And then N-acetylglucosamine, I think that one's really important because it's what we call a biofilm disruptor. A biofilm is kind of a coating, just like it sounds, that suffocates out our microbiome. Our microbiome being the healthy bacteria and the ecosystem that we need to basically live, right? We're more bacteria than we are human, in fact. So anything we can do to stop any of those biofilms from really attaching and suffocating it out, we want to do, and that's N-acetylglucosamine. Also helps to absorb lectins, which are pro-inflammatory compounds, so we want to get rid of those. So Flex, even though it's kind of promoted as a joint supplement, is actually a really good component for your gut health. The fun is, obviously, you guys, hydration, right? When we're trying to move particles along, increase absorption, anytime we hydrate, we're helping that. But also it has L-glutamine. L-glutamine helps maintain the integrity of the intestinal wall. And that's where we're talking about the tight junctions, the little cells that make up the wall, and they get weak and they start allowing things through that are not supposed to get through, and they can cross into the blood, the lymph, and into the brain, even to the brain. They cross that blood-brain barrier, and that's where we start seeing diseases of depression, anxiety, things like that, is because the wall of the gut becomes weakened. And one of the key components to maintaining those tight junctions and keeping them closed at the level they're supposed to be and only open when they're supposed to be open is L-glutamine, and we get that from the fun. So fun, think of fun as another key component to gut health. All right, we're going to move on. We're moving on to joint health. And when it comes to joints, it's the leading cause of disability for adults in the U.S., right? I think every one of you on here probably either suffers from some type of joint dysfunction, inflammatory condition, or knows somebody who does, right? So that's your arthritides. All different sorts and all different kinds. Inflammation of the joints is a huge, huge problem. 54 million adults diagnosed with some type every single year. 31 million of those 54 are osteoarthritis, right? So the type of arthritis you see most commonly is osteoarthritis. When we think in our mind, we think of like bone spurs and osteophytes and things you see like that. That's osteoarthritis. Overweight and obese are more likely to be diagnosed. And that's not just, I get a lot of patient base who says, well, yeah, it's my weight. That must just put pressure down on my joints. And I say, well, yeah, that may be true. But believe it or not, one of the largest components with osteoarthritis is more the inflammatory side of being overweight or obese. your body is super, super inflamed. It's creating its own fire. And so even though, yes, you do carry along more pounds that are causing more pressure to those joints, which does cause some decay, it truly is the inflammatory response that's wreaking havoc. And then finally, poor diet and lack of exercise play a large role in inflammation, of course, absolutely. All right, so when we talk about the pillar of joint health, first of all, the transformation kit, right? Let's detox you. Let's get your body reset. Let's build that foundation. We're going to get inflammation down. And really, I don't know how many times we've heard these different, and I don't want to reference too much back, but even just listening to the most recent testimony we just heard from Dr. Dawn and her joints, that's just removing the inflammatory process that is the basis of arthritic conditions. So start with that T-kit. Get your body reset. Some good additions to consider. Flex, of course, that's what it's created for. Omegas, that's the omega-3s, the Fun, and the Glow. So let's break those down. So Flex, this one's obvious, right? As the name says, we're going to try to increase our range of motion, right? So there was a study called the GATE study. It was done in about 2010, one of the largest studies ever done on glucosamine and chondroitin, and its effects as compared to placebo, its effects compared to other arthritic drugs like Celebrex. So it was a kind of a landmark study when you're talking about joint health, and because it proved the fact that supplementing is as or more effective than a placebo, but also more effective than Celebrex, which is still kind of the cornerstone of inflammatory drugs. It used to be Vioxx, but they had to pull that. Celebrex was dang close to being pulled as well. So if you look at that study, the placebo gave people 60% of people 20% reduction of pain, whereas Celebrex gave 70% of people 20% reduction of pain. I thought that was kind of interesting. 60 and 70, not that far off. One's a sugar pill, give or take, considering that's all it is, and the other being the drug. Then you look at what happened with the study when they compared glucosamine and chondroitin, or a joint supplement. Placebo gave 52% of people 20% reduction of pain, whereas the supplements gave them nearly 80% reduction, 20% reduction in pain. So the supplements actually outperformed this placebo, which we would expect, but they also outperformed the Celebrex. So for all of those people out there that are taking these drugs that are causing liver and kidney problems and things like that, look, the study doesn't even really back it. One of the largest double-blind placebo studies on the joint health ever conducted says that glucosamine and chondroitin is an amazing thing when it comes to joint health. Now, look at our Flex. We have that, but we have so much more, right? We have the Limber C and the Mobiliflex. So the Limber C, chicken collagen, most closely resembles collagen of our synovial joints. So it's going to help in theory, and in research says that it will help rebuild those those cartilage cells. We have hyaluronic acid, which is the fluid found naturally in joint fluid. If you ever talk about getting chicken comb injections or whatever, that's hyaluronic acid. Then N-acetylglucosamine, which we just talked about being beneficial for the gut. It's taken from shellfish. It helps with osteoarthritis and irritable bowel, colitis. And then our Mobiliflex, which has got the bromelain, the boswellia, and the hesperidin, all anti-inflammatory effects. You've got Devil's Claw, which is painkiller most effective in chronic overuse conditions. So it's going to help us just to remove that pain a little bit. The ginger root, shown to reduce pain from rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. L-leucine, source of energy for muscles during exercise. And then trypsin and rutin are taken together, reduces the symptoms related to osteoarthritis. There's a reason that this particular supplement is so effective. And when you hear these testimonies of people who've been on Flex for a while, they truly are life-changing because they give us our life back. They give us the ability to get out there and move and do. In my profession, we see a lot of trouble. I mean, there's this weird fight internally with people that are a little bit overweight because they want to exercise, but then exercise causes them pain, so they stop exercising because of the pain. And in truth, we need to get them through that pain and get them past the inflammatory phase so that the exercise can do what it does, which is get those joints mobile and help them reduce inflammation. And a supplement like Flex is so amazing in that arena because it helps us move through that tough zone, that intermediate zone, getting them back to the motion that they're supposed to have and ultimately back to health. So an amazing supplement when it comes to the joints. Let's move on to the omegas. The omegas in joint health, right? So where does the omegas fit in? It's all about the omega-3, right? It's about the anti-inflammatory. They increase blood flow to the joints during exercise. The two components, EPA and DHA, the majority of the anti-inflammatory comes from the EPA side, and it helps reduce inflammation. So taken at the right dosages, we can get anti-inflammatory effects, not only in the joints, but in the tissues, vascular structures, things like that. They help restore and supplement the tissues and limits the production of negative proteins that promote arthritis. So there's a reason, whether it be the anti-inflammatory or getting that blood flow so that we can get those nutrients to the joints, but also helping rid them of the toxins. So again, it's all about anti-inflammatory when it comes to omegas. The fun. So you see how we're kind of doubling up, and you're going to see some of that as I go through these 4 pillars, that there is some crossover. And there again is why I wanted to talk a little bit about being synergistic, right? So there's a crossover. You know, you don't want to become too medical minded and saying, well, you have this, let's only give you these. There's a lot of crossover with this stuff, you guys. So that's why Yoli is so effective, is just because of the synergy. So we talk about fun and joint health. Branched chain amino acids, one of the main things we have with fun, improve strength and decrease the progression of osteoarthritis. There's a little bit of extra alkylate in there. So you're getting some alkylate, which will help reduce inflammation and replace those mineral stores so that we can fight off cramping and things like that as we're getting into motion. And then, of course, adequate hydration maintains blood volume to nourish the joints and carry toxins out of the joint. So it's actually working very similar to those omegas, right? We're increasing that blood flow. We're getting the nourishment to the joint. We're getting those toxins to flush out and, in fact, creating an anti-inflammatory effect. Okay, the glow, one that maybe people aren't thinking about, right? It's hair, skin, and nails. That's what we've promoted it as. But the glow is kind of a chameleon, if you will. The glow is actually an awesome multivitamin, believe it or not. It's got all the essentials, and we'll cover that more here in a little while. But where does glow fit in with joint health? Biotin plays a key role in alleviating joint inflammation. And our glow is loaded with biotin. So that's awesome. Collagen is a building block of cartilage and bone, right? Types 1, types 2, types 3 are key components to rebuilding those tissues. And so taking more collagen is just one more piece to the pie. And we're getting some from the flax, but now we're just adding a little bit more and a little bit more as we take the glow. So we're helping the body restore and rebuild those tissues of the joints. And then it has sodium hyaluronate, which is basically hyaluronic acid, which is a joint lubricant and shock absorber. So again, makes sense, right, for the joints. All right, I know I'm flying through here. I'm doing that on purpose because I want to make sure I get through all of this. Let's talk about the third pillar, which is immune support, or our immune system. And I put this graphic in here for a very specific reason, and I think it lends itself to the topic and to the idea of what's happening. Why are our immune systems just going to crap anymore? And the truth is, and I know it's meant to be kind of comical, but it's somewhat true. I mean, we see a lot of people becoming obsessed with getting rid of every germ, every problem. We're not letting our kids play. We're washing everything down with some type of Clorox, we're sanitizing ourselves basically to death. And it is those germs, it is those bacteria that we get ourselves into that keep our immune system on point and keep it working and keep it functioning and allow us to develop an immune system. If we're never exposed to those kind of things like this child on this slide, you know what? We don't build an immune system. And later in life, maybe we deal with all kinds of allergies and we deal with inflammatory conditions or autoimmune disease, and so I know I'm throwing some stones at some people are my clean freaks out there, but it's just true. I mean, there's multiple studies. There was a study done many years ago where it was 2 different countries divided by a fictitious line, right? There was no actual line. These 2 countries, one of them very highly industrialized and wealthy, and one very poor. And they went in and they studied the health, and it turns out that the poor country had better health than the industrialized nation. Now, why would that be? It's because of their exposure to all these bacteria and stuff. They're developing a much stronger immune system than the country who's basically washed itself to death. So very, very important to have that exposure to build that immune system. So let's talk about where does the Yoli products fit in our immune pillar. Of course, again, not to beat the dead horse, but I'm going to do it anyway, the transformation kit. We have to establish that foundation. That is key. You cannot build a mansion on a broken foundation. The mansion will fall. So make sure we're doing that transformation kit. Some good additions: truth, fun, glow, dream, and defend. Okay, so there's quite a few here, and I could go on with that, right? So we could add the vitamin and mineral. We could add a lot of different things, but for the sake of going through this, I had to pick and choose. So let's start with the most obvious, truth, right? That's kind of what we put it out there as an antioxidant to try to help the immune system function. Well, let's talk about it. Botanomune. It's got pomegranate, 3 times the antioxidant power of red wine or green tea. Acai helps to flush the toxins and increase energy. Camu camu, antiviral, helps with depression, atherosclerosis. Amla decreases stress, increases mental health, fights infections. Mangosteen, which stimulates the immune system and helps with UTIs. And then our Actisorb, which is a blend of minerals and enzymes to boost the immune system and aid in digestion. So, we could throw this one, again, there's that synergy. We could throw this one back to even gut health. So obviously we want truth. Truth is just our frontline fighter helping our immune system kick in. Fun. L-glutamine, we talked about that earlier. It's a critical fuel source for white blood cells. So when we're exposed to something that causes an infection, we need those cells to kick in. In order for them to kick in and do what they're supposed to do and fight those pathogens, they need fuel, and L-glutamine is that fuel. We get that from fun. Hydration plays a key role in the production of lymph fluid. So lymph fluid is coursing all over our body, taking on these toxins and draining them out, getting them to where we can get rid of them. So that hydration is very, very important, and fun plays obviously a very key role there. The glow. Again, a hair, skin, and nails product, but fits well because it provides all the essential vitamins, including vitamin D, which is an antiviral. It contains ashwagandha, which is to help us fight off stress. It's called an adaptogen, and so it's a really, really cool one. We'll talk a little bit more about that very shortly. Then you have the dream. Sleep has been shown to increase T cell function. T cell is all about immunity. That's again, kind of a frontline fighter when there's something exposed to our body that isn't good. Those T cells are what are basically the attack. And so sleep has been shown to increase our T cells. We need that deep sleep, if you will, to get to that point. Stress hormones dip while the body is at rest, so it gives us a little break away from things like cortisol. Poor sleep can increase inflammation, blood pressure, insulin-resistant, cortisol, which is a stress hormone, weight gain, cardiovascular disease, as well as decreased blood sugar regulation. So we need sleep. Without sleep, we die. Okay? So that's where dream really comes in. Again, is it directly affecting us? Well, in a way, but indirectly, this is where it comes in. And then finally, defend, right? So defends our major troops. It's when we're really going to war, this is what you want on your side. I know this is a very busy slide, but there's a lot going on in defend. Defend is probably one of the strongest, most powerful that I've seen as far as an immune booster at the point of direct insult. I think that defend is as good as anything I've ever seen on the market. So it has a lot of components going on. So I just made a list here. Bovine colostrum is an immunostimulant that provides lactoferrin. Lactoferrin is like breast milk, neutralizes bacteria. Holy basil assists the body in dealing with stress. Astragalus, which lowers cortisol, our stress hormone, activates those T cells. It's an antimicrobial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, fights tumor development. And this stuff is amazing, you guys. Turmeric, if you haven't heard of it, you've been living under a rock, right? It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, helps the brain. Bee propolis, which is kind of the glue within the hive, right? It's holding it all together. Fights cancer, side effects of chemo. Antimicrobial, it's an antiseptic, and it treats parasites. Papaya, and it's an antioxidant, has flavonoids, vitamin C, helps prevent cancer, enzyme papain, which it helps the proteins and bowel cleanse. And again, before I move on any further, I want to make something very clear. Am I suggesting in any way, shape, or form that defend is to fight cancer? No, I'm not. I want that to be very clear. I'm not suggesting you take defend because of cancer. It's going to cure your cancer. Absolutely not. I'm just suggesting that the ingredients within defend have been studied on various levels, and these are the studies done on the ingredients. So we have echinacea. Echinacea is a known immune booster, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, decreases the odds of developing a cold by 58% and duration by 1 to 4 days. So that's amazing, you guys. When there's seasonal stuff rolling around and you're exposed, being on that defend at that key time can reduce that chance by more than half. You are really, really fighting very well. Various types of mushrooms in the defend. They boost oxygen to use in the body. There's beta-glucan, which stimulates the immune system to attack our pathogens, limits cancer tumor growth. There's B vitamin, CLA. It activates our T cells, decreases oxidative stress and inflammation. Some of these there's one in there that's an official cancer treatment in Japan. And so those mushrooms are amazing little fighters when it comes to our immune system. And then finally, vitamin A protects the mucous membranes. It's an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, regulates gene involved in immune response, where we talk about autoimmune again. We want the body to regulate itself and know when it's supposed to respond and when it's not. And vitamin A plays a key role there. Okay, we're going to roll into hormones. The deepest subject by far. I know Dr. Angie does a lot of talking about hormone support, and she does a great job with this. I'm not going to get into this really deep, but I want to kind of scratch the surface because it is a major topic, and it does come up because of the various reasons, whether you're looking at these little cartoons I have on here. I think we all know somebody who's been affected by imbalances of hormones. I think it's a great percentage of people, and we maybe give women a lot of the hype when it comes to hormone imbalance, but I don't know that that's always true, right? So men are involved too. So when it comes to hormone health, let's talk again, the transformation kit. Getting rid of the inflammation in the body and building that foundation. Let's get these structures working and give them the tools they need to start over with healthier cells. So good additions, the greens, the omegas, our new pH2O, the vitamin and mineral, and the dream. So where are hormones come in? What are they involved in? They're involved in our metabolism, our mood, our growth and development, our sexual function, our reproduction, right? So they're pretty broad when it comes to the human body. They make us go around, and it is a very intricate dance. when it comes to neurotransmitters, hormones, things like that, intertwined and keeping us moving the way we're supposed to. So they're involved in a lot of different things. Where are they made and released? And this will tell you how big they are, how important they are. They're made and released in the hypothalamus, the thyroid, the pituitary, the adrenals, the brain, the lungs, the ovaries and testes, the kidneys and liver. Well, got liver twice, so it must be very important. So why is there dysfunction? The dysfunction comes from, obviously, diet, right? So again, a very nutritional factor dis-ease is a hormone imbalance. So our diet, we have mineral deficiencies, we have dehydration, we have stress, we have inflammation, we have infections, and we have gut dysfunction. All of those play a role in why we have these imbalances and why they're wreaking havoc on our body and turning us into a bear just coming out of hibernation in some instances. So we have signs of trouble when it comes to hormones, right? And there's a lot. I only touched on a few here. I would venture to guess this slide could be 3 pages long. Infertility, weight loss, weight gain, depression, digestive issues, irregular periods, fatigue, anxiety, hair loss or hair thinning, mood swings, trouble sleeping, muscle aches and pains, brain fog, irregular heartbeat, increased feelings of overstressed, and decreased sex drive. You know, I could ask for a show of hands, but I guarantee you there would be a large percentage of you on this call right now listening to this live that could tag at least a few of these, if not all, right? So hormone issues are huge, and it's only that way because of our lack of movement and our standard American diet. It's just pushed us into this caged cat kind of thing, and we're starting to show the trouble because of it. So how do we balance hormones, right? So we need to talk about increasing our healthy fats, decreasing our refined carbs, and then providing the body what it needs in a supplement form. Really kind of 3 key components. What are healthy fats? Because some people are still in that zone of not quite understanding that fat isn't necessarily bad for us, right? That was a thing of the early 2000s and 1990s that basically we gave all fats a black eye, and now it's come to light that there's a very good dividing line between healthy and unhealthy fats. And so healthy fats, things like coconut oil, MCT, avocado, ghee, deep sea fish, things like that are all really good things that provide those healthy fats that are precursors to some of the hormones we need. One little note there, watch out for omega-6 fats, stuff like safflower, sunflower, canola, soybean, and peanut oils. Those are things we have to really watch out for. One omega-6 that is kind of the exception to that rule would be hemp, believe it or not. That does provide us with some precursors that are very, very important in the human body. All right, we're moving on. Omegas. Where do omegas fit when it comes to hormones? They're integral to hormone production. Without them, the body decides and makes a decision that it has to use these lesser quality fats. Well, as with anything in the human body, anytime we go down to a lesser quality base, we basically build a lesser quality organ, system, or function. So we want to provide it with the best of the best, and that's where those key fats come in. They help us decrease inflammation, as I talked about before, and they regulate estrogen formation. So I believe that there's a large estrogen dominance problem in the United States, and that could be a key component. Is we want to be able to regulate that. The body knows best, but sometimes it needs the tools to really make what it needs happen. So omegas fit into that mold very well. The greens. Greens provide antioxidants to help you regulate the hormones. It provides a nice little jump of potassium, where potassium deficiency results in decreased testosterone and growth hormone. You know, those are 2 things we lose aggressively, especially as men, as we age. So, you know, getting that potassium in and keeping that level up will help us with testosterone and growth hormone. And then again, the adaptogen ashwagandha increases T3, T4, which are thyroid hormones, decreases insulin resistance and blood sugar, increases leptin sensitivity, and decreases cortisol and decreases anxiety. So, I mean, talk about a powerhouse. When it comes to adaptogens, ashwagandha is one of the best, and that's in our greens. Incidentally, it's in Glow as well. pH2O, right? One of our newer products, and something that's just a really base key, right? So these are the trace minerals that we're just not getting anymore, and that's due to farming practices, just life. I mean, we've robbed our soils of these things, and to get them in now has become harder and harder and harder because they just don't exist. And so getting those trace minerals in is really, really key. Also, it's a little boost of alkali, which helps with anti-inflammatory and providing oxygen to the tissues. I just listed a couple. Chromium, zinc, cobalt, and manganese are involved in hormone production. Now, there's, I think, somewhere around 70, I can't remember for sure, but around 70 trace minerals. And I will tell you, these are not the only ones involved in hormone production. These are just some I wanted to give an example. And so we need those trace minerals as key building blocks to providing the tissues what they need so that they can produce the hormones we need. So the vitamin and mineral, right? So there may be a reason that there's a question mark, but I won't go into that. But the vitamin and mineral, right, they affect the hormones. Iodine is involved in thyroid hormone synthesis. Selenium, we need selenium to recycle our iodine. So if you want to not be depleted of that iodine constantly, you need the mineral selenium. Zinc and copper are involved with hormone synthesis. Vitamin C increases progesterone and aids with sleep. And vitamin D balances the metabolism and body temp and increases energy and immune function. So, you know, our vitamin and mineral, when we have our vitamin and mineral, are very effective at helping us support the hormone system, the endocrine system, I should say. And then dream, hormones work on a schedule, you guys. So everything has a timing when it comes to this. And that timing, like I said, it's an intricate dance, way more intricate, way more deep than we ever give it credit. And so it's a very complicated system. And so that schedule is really, really important for us to revive and replenish, and sleep is a key component of that. Cortisol resets basically at midnight. So we need that reset period to kind of let things stop, restart, get our body back, and kind of, you know, don't become immune to cortisol. And cortisol is a very inflammatory hormone. If we don't allow it to use up and get out of our body and be used as it should, it can become very inflammatory. Constant cortisol results in decreased immune function, depression, anxiety, and weight gain. So we need our sleep. So why Yoli and why now, right? So I've been in this profession for 15 years, you guys, and I've looked at, researched, and I've broken down so many programs that, you know, come across my desk one way, shape, or form. And most of them now are all about health, man. They, you know, yeah, weight loss is a side effect. That's become kind of the tagline with a lot of the programs. But none have really even held a candle to what Yoli has done. And I will guarantee you guys, this is my guarantee, no one is going to compare to what we are about to do. I speak for the rest of the doctors on the advisory board here, and there is a lot of excitement in Yoli right now. There's a lot of excitement as to, you know, what's going on the product side. As I said at the onset of this presentation, you know, I guarantee you we have your back. We are fighting every day to make sure that Yoli maintains its integrity and keeps everything as natural and as synergistic as humanly possible, at the same time trying to be cutting edge and staying on the front of the curve or the wave, if you will, and not just being a Me Too company. We want to set the trends. We want to set the standards. And that's where we're heading, and we're heading there quickly. There's just a lot of change going on in Yoli right now. And on the product side, I can speak for at least the Doctors Advisory Board in saying there's a lot of excitement, you guys. So why Yoli? It's the synergy, you guys. As I beat that horse, but it's true. The synergy is really, really key. You can take all of these supplements. You can take all these products. They all work together. They help each other. As you've seen, when I talk about the pillars, there's a lot of crossover. We have the science, right? We're very science-backed. The doctors are very involved in this company and what's going in and what's happening. We have calls. Sometimes weekly, we meet with corporate, we're meeting with marketing. So there's a lot of involvement with the science that goes back to the products. But ultimately, it's also about the culture. The culture of Yoli is what sets us apart. And I think that there's thousands upon thousands of companies in this country that want what we have. And that's not easy to build. It's not easy to build a culture where we all support each other and we're all behind each other and we're all behind the idea of keeping our products clean. And we're all behind the idea of everybody succeeding, whether it's in the weight loss arena, the gaining health arena, or financial gain arena. You know, we're all here for each other. And that culture is second to none. All you guys have to do is go to an event. If you haven't been to a major event, whether it's the Build and Become events like we're going to have in Davenport and on the East Coast, or it's our Transform Use, or it's conference in August, go there, take a step back, and really take it all in, because it's all about culture. You know, we're a hugging company. We're a face-to-face company. We're a party company. We have a ton of fun. And that culture is what drives this company even further than just the products, than just our pillars. It takes us to that next level. And I just want to make sure everybody understands how important that is. That when you join Yoli, you're not just joining, you know, a company with great products that should sit on a shelf. You're joining a company that we all love each other and we're all here for each other and we all want success. So